I feel like it's one of those acid trip sequences in movies where it's just like a blur of random things, like Paris and then an explosion, babies being born and stuff. And that's like what it feels like, except for with lots of drag and then lots of just meeting new people, waking up in a different city and throwing my body on the ground for some people.
You had so much time to kind of envision this, like, oh, if I get picked, then my life is going to change. Was there any part of it that surprised you?
I just really never thought about it a lot, so everything's really shocking to me. Like, waking up and having people like know my name is shocking, and knowing that like RuPaul thought that I was a good representative or like the best representative for our season. It's really crazy, and it's also, I feel like, a lot of responsibility because I have to carry this mantle for a year, and so I have to, whether or not I have to, people expect me to represent exactly why Ru chose me throughout the year. And so luckily I think I was a pretty three-dimensional character with lots of high highs and low lows, so I hope people are ready to drink in one of the weirdest winters we've ever had.
Is there another dimension or side of yourself that you feel like maybe didn't get as much airtime that you're excited to show people, or another aspect of your art?
What's funny is the aspect that I think I didn't get to show people as much of is the one thing that I focus almost entirely on when I'm out performing, and that's like being goofy. I wasn't really good at like letting loose and having fun at Drag Race because I was like, I'm here to compete and I'm here to like end 14 other careers along the way. But I'd really just like joking around, and like most of what I do when I go around and perform is just act like a giant clown. So
how do you incorporate that into your acts for anyone who hasn't seen you perform in real life?
For anyone who hasn't seen me perform in real life, it's just very stream of consciousness, like pick out random things that I like out of the ether that I think bring people back or like make them happy. Like my favorite thing to throw in is the Macarena. Like if you can do like any serious song and then somehow like mix in the Macarena somewhere, people automatically are just like, yeah, oh my god, I do want to do this.
Can we expect like the electric slide at like Work the World?
Oh yeah, probably exclusively the electric slide. That's also why I'm excited about Work the World though, is because now with specifically the theme that they're giving us, which is this like planetary queens.
That's perfect for you.
Yeah, I get to explore an even different side, because for the past few months I've just been, like I said, clowning around, and now I get to show people like what the real creepy Yvie, like dark, out there queen gets to do.
So you get the theme, like where does your brain go first? What like crazy ideas have you started coming up with?
I like to look at things that I've already done and either go exactly the opposite of that or try and rehash ideas. So I've played around with doing these extravagant, over-the-top alien creatures before, and now I want to make another one that kind of leans in a different direction and utilizes all of the resources that are now available at my fingertips that never were before. I've got some pretty crazy things planned. My little odd squad has been working hard in our sweatshop.
How do you come up with the concepts? Because I loved your finale lip sync. It just is etched in my brain forever. And I think you're really good at marrying like the look with the moves and just putting the whole thing together.
I mean, it takes a lot of time. Sometimes ideas just are there and they just happen. You have a vision for something, and then a lot of the time it's like me and all of my friends just throwing ideas back and forth off of each other and just kind of building these things. Like for example, for the finale, I just knew I wanted a dress that looked the same in the front as it was in the back, and to give like an illusion of a two-faced person, and then from there it grew. We had time to work more on it, and it just evolved into this crazy three-eyeballed, four-headed goddess.
What are you up to before you kick off the tour? What have you been doing so far? You're touring by yourself now, right?
I mean, I'm gonna be joining Plastique for our Pretty Weird tour, so I'm really excited for that because we do two entirely different things, and so to put it all together in one tour, I feel like we're going to be giving like the best of both worlds realness. I didn't get to know Plastique that much on the show, and now she's absolutely one of my favorite girls to spend time with.
What would people be surprised to know about Plastique?
She's got a potty mouth. Just kidding. That's me. I don't know. I think people would be surprised at how funny she is. Like, no shade to Plastique on the TV show, but in real life, she is like one of the funniest little. She'll throw a shady quip that'll like silence an entire room. But that's the best part about going on these tours and exploring the world with these girls, like, is that you get to see who they really are and what got them on the show in the first place.
Mm-hmm. I imagine touring all this much for this whole year is really exhausting and challenging, even while it's so exciting. And you had a really powerful statement on Twitter a couple days ago where you were talking about fans respecting your boundaries and understanding that you're a human that runs out of energy. Why was that important for you to share?
It's important for me to share because I grew up in a time period where the public was not necessarily the kindest to its celebrities. I got to see how we treat people who are in the spotlight. And for me personally, being in the spotlight in that capacity has never been one of my goals. It's just kind of like a side effect of what happens if people are actually paying attention to my art.
Yeah.
And so I want to remind people that despite what anyone thinks, like, I'm a human being who's going through my own struggles, who is fighting my own body, like, constantly, and doesn't owe the world every piece of my soul. Just because you got to see me on a TV show does not mean you own my time, my space, or my energy. And I think it's really, really twisted if you're gonna tell someone in 2019 that because they decided to try and be famous or whatever, that they are signing away their right to give and deny consent. Like, it's just, I want to remind people that underneath all the makeup, underneath our show pony tricks that we can do, we're still human beings, and that's why I also do love it when fans respect my boundaries and just like are fine with a hug and a talk or something, because that's what I'm way better at, and it makes me feel like a human being when you understand that I'm tired as shit and that I'd rather have a real human experience than just a selfie.
Yeah. I was surprised that got kind of like mixed reactions online because it seems so simple.
I mean, it's my tone. It's the fact that instead of saying politely like, "Dear fans, I appreciate and love like everything you do so much and put yourself before me," like, instead of approaching it with like a gentle tone, I just put it out there. And it's easy to root for somebody who's like that open when they're not being that open against you, and I think this is the first time, especially since the show, that people have had to reconcile with the fact that that same girl who was on the show telling all these other people what her truth is and what they need to like face is going to be out here in the real world. So I mean, it's the first time I've just kind of not exactly had the same view as the public before me, or some of the queens before me, or everyone, and oh well.
Did anyone, any fans or queens reach out to you after that and be like, I get what you're saying?
Yeah, that's the funniest part of this is that, of course, there are queens who took the stance of being martyrs and automatically being like, "Oh, I take selfies with my fans all the time. I would never deny," because they're worried about how the fan base is going to react if they support me, if they feel that sort of way, and they want to sell out in that sort of way, and they're totally allowed. But I have boundaries, and I've had so many more people who have reached out to me and been like, "Hey, like, I get that maybe you didn't say it in the nicest of ways, but I respect you and I respect what you're saying. So if you're against me, there's a block button, there's an unfollow button. Like, do what makes you happy, but that's all I'm working towards as well."
If you love that video, you're gonna love everything on the Access YouTube channel, so hit the subscribe button. You can thank me later. Hit it. Now. Thanks.